I'll tell y'all a little short story about my mom's ex-husband. Now, he was always a mean guy, from what I understand. Just sort of a spiteful guy. And he just was a violent person in general. Well, eventually he went to Vietnam. And, first of all, I want to salute all the soldiers, all the men and women that support us, save us from the ills of the world. Meant to say that first, but anyway, so he went to Vietnam, and apparently he liked the feeling of killing. And he went to Vietnam, I believe, 2 separate tours. He caught a shrapnel round in his lower back. He was laying, with his chin across his arms, laying across the front of a foxhole, talking to the men down in the front of the foxhole. And he was laying with his back to the front line, and a mortar round came in and struck close beside of him, and he got shrapnel on his legs, his spine, his back, his tailbone region, that whole area. And he got injured so bad that it disabled him permanently, and he had to be on medication and disability, I guess, the rest of his life from the early 70s on, pretty much. Or he fought him for, I think it was about 1983 or so before he ever got any real help or disability, but he did eventually get it. But that's here or there. The story's about him and his friend and my mother. Well, him and his best friend decide they're going to sell their souls, right? For whatever reason. I don't know why. I have no clue. Apparently, this guy also used to deal in the illicit narcotics trade, let's say. So there's a lot of things involved with that, violence and debt collection, I don't know exactly what all he's gone now as of several years ago. He was put in jail for the big M word and conspiracy to commit an unalive, God forbid we say what it is, right? Anyway, he did eventually get out because they could not prove the murder. They did prove the conspiracy charge. However, this has been many years back. Him and his best friend decided to sell their souls, I guess, to Satan or to his higher dark power, right? Well, so this man, his best friend, my mother, and another friend of hers all go to this place that they call, what do they call it? The Devil's Circle or the Devil's Crossroads, something like that. And it's out in this place where they used to manufacture cinder blocks. It was on the outskirts of that place. And they had a place there called Hell, where the slag furnaces would put out molten material, the slag from the production line. And, it looked like the fires of hell. It looked like a volcano. If you ever drove through that, you used to be able to drive through before it shut down. Eventually they put gates up and locked them, but you used to be able to drive in the back gates and go around and see the slag furnaces and whatever, but you have to be careful because there's reservoirs and, mines that have been refilled, mines that haven't been drained yet, and there's these little narrow roads and petrified forests, and it's just a real weird place. It's got a history to it, I guess you could say. Well, this is where they went. Now, my mother and this other guy, they didn't want any part of whatever this was going to be, this ritual or what have you, right? So they stayed in the car, in the back seat. And they watch this production between Wayne and his best friend by the name of Amos. And so they sit down, they make a circle. Wish I could flip the camera around, but see that pit there? Like a fire pit. They built a little fire pit. They built a fire. And they drank a couple beers. And then one of them rolled a joint, I guess you'd call it. So they start smoking this joint, right? So Amos hits this thing. He passes it to Wayne. Wayne hits it. He takes it, passes it to the person standing next beside of him. Of course, there's nobody there. But whoever was there that you couldn't see grabbed a hold of this thing, lifted it into the air, and it glowed hot as if something were pulling on it. Then it would dim out, and it floated back down to Wayne's hand. This happened a couple times. Then, both of the people in the back of the car see the same thing. They write letters later to each other to confirm that they never spoke about it other than that initially, because but they both saw the same thing. They saw Wayne get up and walk. There's a big black dog, something like a Rottweiler, I would assume, but a big, huge black dog that came down this long path to this circle where nothing grows. And this big black dog ambles up. And as Wayne's sitting there, he stands up and he follows the dog down this path until you can't see him anymore, and they disappear off in the distance. The thing is, Wayne is still sitting on the ground. Right? But some part of him, it looked like him, got up and followed this dog down this path, right? Well, Amos had changed his mind. Amos had gotten scared and didn't really want to do it. But apparently there's another ritual where you can sell a portion of your soul, or half of your soul, which is what he decided to do. But he did the same ritual with the joint, passing the joint, and it lightened up by itself and passing back down. Okay, well, I don't want to speak ill of the dead, and I don't want to speak ill of my mother, but apparently later on, my mother and Amos had an affair after she was married to Wayne. Now, Wayne found out about this, and as you can imagine with his history of violence and his history of this and that he didn't care for it much, let's say. But let me go back to the story of selling the souls. Amos, the black dog, came back down the path, and Amos got up from the waist up. Only the waist up. He had no legs or lower torso, no lower trunk. And his upper half followed this dog down this long, dark path until you couldn't see him anymore and they disappeared. The affair happened later on after that, at some point. Wayne found out about it. Amos was his best friend. My mother was his wife. And he even told me a story years later and said, he never mentioned names, but he said, one time I made a mistake and I did something to somebody that I shouldn't have done, and I realized I killed the wrong person. I should have killed her, not him. Now, I'm pretty sure that's applying to this situation. But that's nearly how, like I said, I don't want to speak ill of anybody, but it's just part of the story. Well, he finds out that Amos and my mother are having an affair. And Amos is leaving a bar one night. And this is the police's version of what happened. Amos left the bar. He was drunk. Maybe high. He flew down the road. There's a little bar on the road outside of 700 called Underwood's Bar. It used to be back in this time. And this is where this guy left out of. And there's a bridge within eye shot of the bar. Well, the police's version is Amos always had a falcon, not a car, a bird. He had an actual falcon that he would keep, it would stay on his arm, when he went out somewhere, it would stay on his shoulder. It was a tame bird, but it was a hawk. And he had this bird, and he took it everywhere. And the police's version is what happened was he had the windows down, the bird got loose, flew up in his face, flew out of the car, and it distracted him, and he ran to the back of a tractor trailer that was parked on the side of the road and blew up. And I guess he burned alive, more or less. Well, there's also a second version of the story that says his brakes went out on purpose, and that for some reason somebody had cut his brake lines, and when he left out of that bar, he flew, he was wide open. And the thing is, he didn't have a hawk that night, from what I understand. They never found the bird, so I don't know. Maybe he did have it, but they never found the bird. His brake lines were cut. The police never put that in a report. They never investigated, from what I understand. It was just treated as an accident. Then later on, Wayne's health was bad from the shrapnel and just in general. And, later on, like I said, he got caught up in this conspiracy and murder and murder for hire type things. And his cousin wore a wire, and his cousin was the one he confided in, because supposedly he had took the cousin to a prior murder and used the cousin to help him cover up and get rid of the weapon, supposedly. But the guy apparently was a liar, because they never found the gun. They never could prove his story out, but they did use the conspiracy charge that they got through the wire when he offered this man money to do a couple things, murder and arson for him. And he ended up doing, I don't know, about 15 years in prison or so. He lost a bunch of weight in prison. Apparently the guards or somebody was trying to poison his food. And at first I thought he was paranoid, but apparently he wasn't paranoid. Somebody was doing something to his food, and he refused to eat for several months, several weeks, and it went on to several months. He refused to eat. He lost a bunch of weight. He got really sick. He almost died. So finally, whatever was being done stopped being done. He stayed alive for 15 years or so, got out. He was out a few months. I saw him the next morning, the night after he got out. We were real cordial with each other. He stayed with my mother the night prior, and my fiance. And he still had a joint hid in his watch, a little hideout spot in his watch that he had to get a pair of tweezers to open up. Imagine that, the police arrested somebody for murder and didn't even check them for drugs or weapons before they arrested them. That's CPD for you. But it's always been this speculation. It's been my supposition, my mom's supposition, several people's supposition, that he found out about the affair and he cut Amos's brake lines while he was at the bar. And so Amos died at, I believe, 20-something years old. And it was Wayne's best friend. It was just a freak accident, in quotes. But I often wondered if the selling of the souls and Amos's reversal of what he wanted to do, if that didn't have something to do with his whole ritual and him deciding to sort of back out of the ritual to some extent. And then there's this affair, and then he turns up dead. It's just another tale of destruction. But believe me, people, I can tell you from personal experience, I've never sold my soul, but like I told you prior, I have dipped my toe into black magic without actually meaning to, and the shit is real. And it will affect you. It can affect you. It will affect you if you let it. Even if you don't let it, but you make a mistake in the right way, it will affect you. The dark will affect you. The blackness will affect you. The evil will infect you. So I wonder if the evil didn't infect Wayne, and that was just one more person, one more notch on his belt. Wayne was only ever mean to me a time or two, just kind of hollering when I was a kid. He couldn't stand to hear babies cry and stuff like that. But Wayne was always good to me. He always gave me money. He acted like my dad, even though he was not my father. He was a good guy to me. He was a good guy to the people around him, the people he loved, the people he trusted. But if he didn't like you, and even if he did like you, you crossed him, it's over. And if you crossed him bad enough, or you continued to cross him, it was really over. In my opinion. I don't know for a fact, but anyway, he's gone now. He's been gone many years. Maybe this is a story I shouldn't have told. It's not my own story. That's their story. But I started telling another story this morning about seeing a couple things and seeing a car disappear. But I believe I'll save that for a different time. This is just a little short ditty to fulfill anybody's want of possibly wanting to watch the videos. Just to let y'all know, I should be doing a podcast here in about mid-July. A pretty popular, famous podcast. So I'm not going to mention it. I'm not under NDA or anything, but I'm not going to mention it right now until we get the interview under the belt. I don't know when it'll be released, but I'll let you guys know. But he's really interested in the Bigfoot / flying humanoid in that particular area and all the darkness and the weird stuff that goes on there. So, but I'll let you guys know when I get there. And anyway, I hope y'all have a good morning. Hope y'all have a good evening, a good day. Sorry, I'm outside seeing somebody walk up the road. It's a little odd. It's 5:36 in the morning, but hell, I'm outside telling the story to my phone, and I'm not surprised she's looking at me like I'm insane. So, but anyway, y'all have a good day, good week, good month, a good rest of your life. This is the only video you ever see. Just remember, you are loved. There is somebody in this world that loves you. There is somebody that cares about you. Just keep your head up, people. Things are bad. Things can always get worse. But things can only get so bad, and eventually they have to fucking get better, right? They gotta get better. So just hold on, people. I'll let you know about the podcast. I'll let you know when it's coming. The recording schedule is set for July 11th. I imagine it'll be a while before it's released. If it's released, I'm assuming it will be. I've done a couple other podcasts. Maybe I should re-release those, see if I can't get permission from the owners and re-release them under my name, in case anybody's interested that hasn't heard them. But anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. Y'all have a good one.